First of all, I'm very excited. I love that Bronson Reed is a part of this, whatever this faction is going to be. I'm glad that Paul Heyman is going to be the mouthpiece. I need Seth Rollins to take a page from Roman Reigns where less is more. Give me Paul Heyman, more of Paul Heyman, and less of Seth Rollins. I don't need Paul Heyman to do that much work on the mic and then Seth Rollins to do that much work on the mic. Paul Heyman is going to resonate with me a hell of a lot more than Seth Rollins. What made Heyman and Roman work, Heyman would talk, and then Roman would talk for about 20, 30 seconds, and that was it. Too much of Seth Rollins, and this is some of the issues I had with heel Seth Rollins, and some of the problems I had when Seth Rollins was champion and he would start Monday Night Raw and go on for a 20-minute promo to start every episode. I'm sorry, and I'm not hating on Seth Rollins. I respect Seth Rollins. He's a great wrestler. He does not capture me on the microphone at all. And if you have somebody like Paul Heyman, let him carry the load on the mic. You don't need to talk so much. The only thing I needed to hear from Seth Rollins last night, Bully, and we didn't even get that big of an explanation of it, is why is Bronson Reed, somebody he hated, somebody that put him out of action, why is he now aligning himself with Bronson Reed? That's the only thing I wanted to hear from Seth Rollins last night. That's my take. What's yours?
It's kind of hard to disagree with you because you have two guys that they're both good talkers. Normally you have, and we know this, a Paul Heyman with you if you're not a great talker. The mix of 80-20 that we got with Roman and Heyman was nice. Obviously, he did all of the talking for Brock, and I can't remember that far back, but I did think he did a majority of the talking for Punk and helped Punk get to where he was on the microphone. I am still sticking to the way I felt from the beginning of this group. It's not that it doesn't feel right. It just feels forced. When I saw Paul with Punk back in the day, or obviously just recently for the short amount of time, when I saw him with Brock, when I saw him with Roman, it just always felt right. And it didn't take a week or two to grow on me. It just was a good match. This one feels different. At the end of the day, it's going to work because Paul Heyman is going to make it work. And you do have that modern day Dangerous Alliance type feel. But when I see Paul out there with these guys, it's Paul who's coming across as the one who is working the most. I don't feel a same comfort level with Paul. I feel I can actually see Paul's wheels turning in his head, which I never really do. With Paul, it's always top of his head. He knows what he's going to say, and here's the way it's going to come out, and I'm going to talk like this. Now I'm hearing a Paul Heyman that is like really, really locked into, okay, I got to get this guy over, I got to get this guy over, I got to say this about this guy over, and I have to bring this unit together. That might just be me, though. I'm sure that there's a large portion of the wrestling audience that absolutely love this, and I'm not saying I don't love it. I'm just saying it feels different so far. Doesn't feel as natural. So are you still sticking to it feels forced?
A little bit. And some of what you're saying, I totally agree with.
Does that mean some of what I'm saying you totally disagree with?
I'm still kind of wait and see mode. I think Heyman did a very good job last night. I didn't have a problem with Heyman. I think he needed to do those things that you said where he had to get each guy over.
He did the who very well. The who, the what, the why, the where, the when, the what, and the how. He did the who very well. This is this guy. This is his role. This is this guy. This is his role, yada, yada.
Yes. So one of the things I said to you on the show was, why I was looking forward to each show this week because of what we saw over the weekend. I was looking forward to last night's Monday Night Raw, because I did want to hear from Heyman and I did want to hear from Seth. I heard from Heyman. I'm not on board with what I heard from Seth, and here's why. Seth has that. You were just saying about the way Heyman talks. Heel Seth has a way that he talks as well. Monday Night Raw, CM Punk, and now it's like, dude, he draws out his words, he goes way too long. We didn't need to have Seth on the mic for that long. The only thing I wanted to get from Seth last night was the one thing we didn't get from Seth last night. Why Bronson Reed? Now, I got an explanation from Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman explained that he took that he got more out of Seth than anybody else has been able to get out of Seth. He took him to the limit more than anybody else. But I really want to hear that from Seth Rollins. They had a blood feud where both those guys were taken off of TV because of the feud that they had. And now they just aligned themselves together.
With the amount of splashes that Bronson Reed gave Seth Rollins within the past year, you would think that Seth Rollins was still feeling the pain in his ribs from those tsunami bombs.
Yes.
This is a disconnect where it's like, when did you become friends? When did you shake hands and make up? When did you hug it out? Why did you hug it out? How much did Bronson pay you? Was there a settlement? Did you break bread?
The only thing maybe getting from Heyman is like, getting Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins together was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in this business. Like, I saw Bronson Reed and I said, we need to have this. The convincing that I had to do to get Seth Rollins to, it was just like, come on. Like, Bronson Reed tried to kill Seth Rollins. Tried to kill him. And now I'm supposed
I would have referenced one of the most difficult things in history that Paul Heyman has ever had to do. Whatever that was, the favor, I don't know. Bring up something. Give me an example of the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life by bringing two people together was this. And that's how much more difficult it was with Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins. But that's why I'm the wise man. We just tied it up.
No, and I like and Paul Heyman did his best, but those things needed to come from Seth, not from Heyman, but from Seth Rollins, and not in his typical heelish talk. Well, Bronson Reed took me to the limit, so I was like, yeah, he's the guy that needs to be a part of this group. Come on, man, that's more than ever. You have to grab me emotionally where I believe, like, holy shit, now I get it. Now I understand. I'm sorry. Complete disconnect.
I understand why it disconnects with us. It's not, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think it's okay. It's fine, because you know why I think it's okay and it's fine? Because it works. If it works, it doesn't really matter whether we like it or not. Dude, the Grateful Dead. You wouldn't catch me dead at a dead show, but it works, so I gotta respect it. Bruce Springsteen, never, ever, ever. I'd rather stick a red hot poker in my eye. I respect it. Seth, don't love it. Don't really like it at times. It works. Gotta respect it because it works in my industry.
Is it working? No, Bully, and here's why. And this really drove me nuts in that segment last night too. Seth chasing the fucking hug. Like, Seth is just turning heel. Could you embrace it, for fuck's sake? Like, not only did they play the entrance theme that everybody sings along to, but then Seth in his promo had to reference the entrance theme so that fans would sing along to it. Like, I mean, what are you doing? And then at the end of his promo, he does the Seth and then holds up the microphone so the fans could say freaking Rollins. Like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?
But Dave, that's part of being a WWE superstar and it being going beyond pro wrestling. Sometimes we look at things from a pro wrestling point of view, and the WWE, despite the fact that they are more apt to use the word pro wrestling these days, is a sports entertainment company, and getting people to chant while you're doing your promo is very much sports entertainment. Why can't we just have one person who doesn't come out to music? Why can't we just have one person who does a lot of bad things to people? Why can't we have one person who doesn't do anything cool, say anything cool, and all they want to do is inflict harm on everybody? Why? Because they can. Why can't we have one guy or one gal who just is evil for evil's sake? And we never know why until we find out why. Why can't we have somebody breathing down your neck? Why can't we have a typical bully? You know who could do this role very, very well? Sheamus. Sheamus is really good at playing the bully role. Sheamus is really... Huh?
He could.
I'm just giving...
But he could. No, but bully with Seth Rollins, and you could talk about why giving me one. You're banking a lot on this fucking Seth Rollins right now. I mean, who else are they going to bank on right now?
That's their top dog. But these are their top dogs right now.
Then go all in. Then go all bully. If this is your top dog, this is all in. No. You don't get to say it failed because it has not failed and it has not come even close to failing. Bully, if your goal is to get me to hate Seth Rollins, you didn't do it in that segment last night. You had all the momentum coming out of Saturday night's main event, and you didn't do it last night.
Dave, I don't think they go into this with love and hate. I don't believe that's what the WWE is about. You see, pro wrestling can be anything it needs to be, anytime it needs to be it, and we can make up any answer we want to fit the narrative. That's just the way the business is. And the best of the best are so fluid, and it's so good of going, no, you're looking at this the wrong way, Dave. Oh, you're such a mark. You don't get it. This is them doing what they're doing. If you want to love Seth Rollins, great, love him. If you want to hate him, great, hate him. He's just going to do what he does. And I don't have a problem with the WWE doing that. But can you give me a white meat baby face and also give me a truly hated heel just once? Give me one Ricky Steamboat of the company and give me one Freddie Blassie of the company.
All right, but you're talking overall in the company. I want to keep it on what we saw last night with Seth Rollins in this new faction. Now, you have the adversary is CM Punk, who's the most popular wrestler on Monday Night Raw. Maybe a close second would be Jey Uso. But would you agree that CM Punk is the most popular wrestler on Raw?
Yes.
Okay. So that's Seth Rollins and this group's main adversary is CM Punk, your most popular wrestler on the show. You just came off of Saturday night's main event where you had people saying, holy shit, here's Bronson Reed. You have no real explanation why they're together. Coming from Seth Rollins. That was Seth Rollins' opportunity to take the bull by the horns, and he did not do it. Also, how great would it be, Bully, if you didn't have the entrance theme? I guarantee you, if you did not have that entrance theme last night, that crowd would have booed. They wanted to boo Seth Rollins. And then when they were booing Seth Rollins, and they were chanting that he sucked and everything else that they were chanting, Seth Rollins then takes a step back and says, well, wait a second. You were just singing my entrance theme 5 minutes ago, and now you're booing, and that got everybody singing along to his entrance theme, where he started doing the maestro stuff to the fans. And then at the end, he lets the crowd say Seth freaking Rollins. But the opportunity is there, Bully. The opportunity was there for them.
It's nothing that I would ever do. It's nothing that I would ever suggest. It's nothing that I would ever approve. I can't tell you more than that. Another thing that is going on with Paul in this group, what makes it, I guess, not less palatable, but feel different, is we're now seeing Paul Heyman's attention taken away from that one person. Paul Ellering had the Road Warriors to worry about, and that was it. The Road Warriors. Now we've gone from Paul worrying about Punk, Paul worrying about Brock, Paul worrying about Roman, to now Paul is worried about Seth, Braun, and now Bronson Reed. We're seeing his attention watered down. Who truly is going to come out of this group? Is this going to be a unified group where each guy is 1/3 of the group? Each person has strength in the group. Is this like the who were the heels? The Hall of Justice and the Super Friends, the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, the Legion of Doom.
Does each one have equal role in this Legion of Doom, in this dangerous alliance? Remains to be seen. If I'm a part of this dangerous alliance, I want to be hated. Maybe the way I look at things could be a little too old school, but I know what works. I know what has worked in the past, not just for me, but for others. And I get what you're saying. You're not wrong. If you're going to be this new heel faction, why are you encouraging the people to say anything? Yes?
Yes. And when you have a big shock and a surprise like Bronson Reed, where's the explanation? That was a perfect opportunity, Bully, not Paul Heyman to do it, for Seth Rollins to put over Bronson Reed.
And here's the thing. We could have heard from Bronson Reed, too. And Bronson Reed could have said, I know what you're all thinking. Why? Why? I hate Seth Rollins, and I hated him then, and I hate him now. And I know I sound like a drunken pirate right now. I know I'm not doing a very good Bronson. Don't agree with me.
But I didn't want to say it.
Bronson Reed could have just said, you know why? Money. They paid me a shit ton of money, mate. I don't know. Tell me anything. Make it up. Lie. Make me believe what you're saying, because that's the business we're in.
I love it, Bully, because I feel like, and you mentioned about the focus, I still feel like the focus is completely on Seth Rollins. How do I know? Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker were dressed up like CIA agents, but yet Seth Rollins is still Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, it screams that I'm the focus, and these are just side guys. Another reason why is the fact that you didn't hear from Bronson Reed or get an explanation. Why is Bronson Reed aligning himself with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman?
I am not a fan of groups and factions and where it's one person and the backups. Dave, I swear to you, as God as my witness, when we were doing the Aces and Eights stuff, I would make sure guys stood by my side. I hate it when guys stood behind me. But they told me, no, Bully, you're the president. You have to stand up front. No, I want these guys. In a motorcycle gang, the president stands with his crew. I don't want to be in the front. I don't want to be in the back. I want to be side by side with equals. If we're in a crew, if we're in a group, we're going to be equals. If we're I'm just going to say, a dangerous alliance, then we're all aligned together. I go back to in the 50s, Dave. Remember in the 50s, you would have like, help me out here, the Temptations, the OJs, the this, and all of the members were equal, but then you had Dion and the Belmonts. Dion was the focal point, and then you had who was first it was, and here's the biggest one. First it was the Four Seasons, but then Frankie Valli became and then it became Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, right? I want this group to be equal parts. I don't want to feel like it's Seth Rollins who's dressed a certain way and everybody else is dressed in black and you look like supporting players. Because now, do I think Braun Breaker is eventually going to break out of this whole thing and become a monster babyface in the company? Absolutely.
I hope
it will.
Okay.
Braun Breaker going to be a monster babyface for this company, without a doubt. He's going to be, trust me. Yeah, but it is the Seth Rollins show right now.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, Bully, because like, you know, you talk about the greatest factions of all time. Was Ric Flair the focal point of the Four Horsemen? Yeah, he wasn't the leader.
Because he was
J.J.
the world
Dillon.
Heavyweight champion.
Because he was the world but
I
they
never
all
felt
dressed the same.
Correct.
Yes.
I always looked at the Horsemen as the original Horsemen. I always looked at the original Horsemen, and then who came in right after Ole left?
You had Ole, and then right after that wasn't it Lex Luger or Barry Windham?
To me, obviously it was Flair, Arn,
Tully, and Ole.
So I always looked at them as equal parts. Yes, we had our world heavyweight champion who was going to get a little bit more of the shine because he carried that gold. But man, they were equal. The Four Horsemen, not Ric Flair and the Horsemen. Obviously, with all the different inceptions in them, you knew who the star was and you knew who the supporting cast was. Like backups, like new guitar players in a band or a new singer in a band. I want to look at these guys as equals. I want to know that Bronson Reed is just as much of a threat in this group as the other two guys.
And like when Luger would join, they would put him in. I remember the vignettes. They would take him to get custom-made suits and clothes because now you're part of the Four Horsemen. J.J. Dillon is going to put $1 million in your bank account, and then we're going to go to New York City and get you a custom suit because you're now part of Four Horsemen. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed last night screamed side players to me in that segment to open up Monday Night Raw.
When Flair and Hunter started Evolution and brought in a very young Randy and a very young Dave Batista, did you feel like Randy and Batista were bit players, or did you feel like they belonged just like Triple H and Rick?
I feel like they belonged. I felt like they were taking these young guys, and now we're going to groom you so that you're now our equals. We're going to do everything together. We're going to fight together. We're going to party together. We're going to do everything together. Last night, it's still Seth Rollins. He hasn't changed. It's still the same Seth Rollins that we've been seeing. And now they got Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, but they're like side guys, dressed the same, but not the same as Seth. Like, man, that was a complete as excited as I was coming out of Saturday night's main event was how I was kind of disappointed in the segment that I saw last night on Monday Night Raw. Now, I'm not taking away, I'm not being throwing my hands up, but I got to say, to me, that segment was a failure. That segment was a failure in everything that they did. Seth, again, where do we see? When you start a faction, with the Shield, did anybody have an individual entrance theme, or did they have the Shield had an entrance theme? Last night, they should have debuted the new entrance theme for whatever this group is going to be. Not continuing to use Seth Rollins' entrance theme. You didn't get any explanation from Seth at all why he's now friends with Bronson Reed. You got a little bit of it from Heyman. Nothing from Seth. And Seth chased a hug with the crowd last night. Fuck, man. I want to pull my hair out talking about this shit. I really do. Because it's right there to be hated. You're going up against CM Punk, who's the most loved wrestler on Monday Night Raw. Accept the hate. Accept it.
Dave, being a WWE superstar trumps being a heel or a babyface.
Yeah, but you know what though, Bully? I'll disagree with you because of what Becky is doing. Becky Lynch right now is embracing being a heel.
If Mark Henry was here, he would tell you different rules for different people.
Well, it's working. Becky is. You can make the case
because
Becky
that's
Lynch
what Becky
more
wants
popular.
To do. Because that's what Becky wants to do. Why does she get to do it? Because that's what Becky wants to do. Different rules for Becky. Why? Bigger star. We pay her more money.
Yeah, but it's working. You got Lyra over. I don't know if Lyra would be this over if it wasn't for Becky Lynch.
Okay.
You know what, Bully? Maybe I'm wrong. That's the way I feel like you had something great in front of you and you missed the opportunity.